Hi, I'm Jason Sterling, and this is the Sherman Oaks High School for the Sims 4 High School Years Pack. I have built this school based on a high school that I actually attended. I attended two high schools as a teenager, and this is one of them. This is the newer one. This is a high school that would have been built in the 1970s at some point, so it's a much more modern sort of design and style. The picture you can see shows basically only about 40% of the high school that I went to. The high school I went to was much larger than this high school. I scaled it down in order to better fit the Sims because there are only going to be so many students on the lot at a time. And it already feels a little empty sometimes being such a large lot, a 64 by 64 lot. The school that I went to had 5 classrooms on a side, not just 3, and it was a mirror image. So on one side you had 2 locker rooms, one on each corner, 5 classrooms in between that. And then the same thing was true on the opposite side of the school. You had 4 locker rooms, one for each grade. So like one for freshmen, one for sophomore, one for juniors, one for seniors, and then the classrooms in between. And there were more classrooms in the center of the structure, not just the sort of learning resources center or library, as you see on this design. The library is in the middle of the structure with the computer sciences lab, but it's pretty close. I would also say, of course, naturally at the school I went to, the gym was much larger. The cafeteria was much larger. The life skills building with home economics and shop class, which incidentally, when I was in school, everybody had to take both home economics and shop. So you didn't just have the boys taking shop class and the girls taking home economics. And it wasn't an elective. Everybody in my school had to take both those classes so that we would be more well-rounded people. And I think that's an excellent idea. I think more schools should do that, actually, because it is a good idea to grow up knowing how to use both a washing machine and a drill, right? Both. But that building as well was much larger. It housed like a television studio because we had a large sort of media setup, media classroom type setup. And it also had the auditorium. But I don't remember really using the auditorium very much. A lot of the stuff that we might have met in school in the auditorium, like for major announcements and stuff like that, actually came via TV, right? There was a television set in every classroom. And so every morning, like, the principal might be on the television, or we had a sort of in-house news group run by the students that would do announcements, and we also did things like the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag and that sort of thing via the television. So it was much different. We really didn't use the auditorium much at all. I did not put any televisions into these rooms because Sims have a habit of just gravitating towards the television and being fixated on it. So I didn't actually put any televisions in any of the classrooms in this build just to keep it easier on the player, but hey, you can throw some in there if you want the true experience. My cafeteria, like I said, was really much larger. The school I went to, or this particular school, was kind of isolated. There was nothing really around it food-wise. So at lunchtime, if you were a freshman or a sophomore, you pretty much were campus bound. There was no place else to go. Juniors and seniors more often than not probably did leave, I would say, because they had vehicles, they had cars to leave. And if you knew an upperclassman, you could go with them, but that was more rare. So the cafeteria was really large. I always remember it as being very crowded because so many people did actually eat there. We didn't actually necessarily eat cafeteria food. We tended to bring our lunches a lot, at least myself and my friends. But a lot of people did eat the cafeteria line. They had kind of a choose as you will, like a true cafeteria where you can say, I want this and this and this and this and not that. And kind of pick and choose and build what you wanted to eat and then pay for it at the end. There was I'm sure like the shows in The Sims, I think they call it the junior lunch and the senior lunch, which is kind of a plated sort of lunch, right? It has all of the options on a plate, right? At once, you just get the whole plate. That probably was pretty much Mostly eaten by kids like on our free lunch programs or reduced lunch programs, something like that. But the cafeteria, as I remember it in my mind, was immense. It was huge. It was massive. The cafeteria here is small, and in some ways too small, but in some ways not, because it does at least give the feeling that there's a big group there. You know, it's not really a small group of people at lunchtime, so it's more a feeling to me of an actual true high school. Right. The rest of the tour here, I'll let it just go through. Please hit like, subscribe, and notify if you like this tour. And do it if you don't like it, too. No, I'm joking. If you enjoy this tour, please hit like, subscribe, and notify. There's other home tours on my site, and there'll be more coming in the future. This isn't a house, of course. This is a high school, but close enough. Let's call them structure tours or property tours coming in the future. In the meantime, for this time, thank you for watching.